A lot of times people will come to our congregation at Life on the Vine here in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, and they kind of ask a question, but they can ask it two ways. Are you an evangelical church? And by that they mean like, do you affirm the typical evangelical doctrines that I care about and I want to know if we're on the same page? But then they can also ask it a different way, which is like, are you an evangelical church? And usually they mean that in a more suspicious sense, because they've been hurt or because they've been wounded by evangelicalism. And I think we run into a problem because a lot of times in our congregation, people end up being confused by our different answers. And then especially when Dave Fitch and I wrote Prodigal Christianity, as well as the Missio Alliance and all these which is kind of a gathering of all the other evangelicals that get left out of the Reformed kind of agendas or perspectives. And I think people a lot of times are confused. Well, what does it mean to be evangelical? What does it mean to be a little more radical? What is this Anabaptist thing? Is there a radical middle? Where does this come from? And so a lot of times I run into a lot of confusion and frustration because of all the ambiguity. Now, I think that happens because we're creatures of habit. And so we end up working into kind of like a Reeces Pieces mentality. Well, if on the one hand we have peanut butter, and then we can also have chocolate, the best thing would be to combine them, unless you have a peanut allergy. So, and I love Reese's Pieces, and so a lot of times I think whatever this new evangelicalism or this progressive Christianity, as some call it, although I don't usually use that term, they think it's, well, let's just kind of throw together maybe the best of the evangelical heart with the maybe mainline brain, and it's concerned with social justice. We'll throw it together, and hey, this will be great. And I think that leads to a lot of confusion in the long run, and I don't really think that kind of combining is the best. And so how can we think of a prodigal Christianity, as we wrote in our book, or a radical middle, or the radical evangelicalism? How can we think of it in a different way? Is there a different way to think about these things? Because we get so stuck in our cognitive categories between conservative and liberal and fundamentalist and progressive, or neo-reformed and emergent. And then the Anabaptist, is that really just throwing the best stuff together and hoping that it's not the worst of everything and that it really is the best of everything? And so can we get over our Reese's Pieces mentality? So first we have to think of the platypus. A platypus is... Well, we know that reptiles lay eggs. Reptiles and fish and birds and other things, they lay eggs. And mammals, what do? Mammals give birth. They give birth out of a womb, and then their offspring is already alive and ready to run around and do all sorts of stuff. But then in Australia, they found, a while ago, this thing called the platypus, which is, on the one hand, it's an egg-laying mammal. It doesn't fit into our categories. And in fact, the European naturalists who first came across the platypus thought it was an elaborate hoax. They thought it didn't really exist. They thought someone was pulling the wool over their eyes and tricking them. And so I think this maybe a third way, although I don't really like that, a more radical evangelicalism. How is it more than just an elaborate hoax? And so how is it really more than just splitting the difference, hoping for the best, but maybe getting the worst of both worlds? So I want to spend these next, I'm going to try to do 10 videos. I don't know if I'll get one out a week or not, but we'll see, where we're going to explore 10 different issues, 10 different topics, and look at, well, what might it mean to take the best of maybe a conservative or progressive approach? And is that what we're really doing? Is that what Dave and I did in Prodigal Christianity? Or is there something more going on that maybe we can get our brains and our hearts and our lives and our churches into, that it will help God's mission kind of flourish here in North America and beyond, this post-Christian world, which is the first kind of thing I want to look at next time. So, but there's a lot of different issues. There's issues concerning, what social context are we living in? Who is God? What is God up to? What is the incarnation finally done for us? What does it mean? Then we have questions of church and witness and what is Scripture. What is the gospel, and how does that relate then to more practical issues of our sexuality, religious pluralism, as well as issues of justice and equality in the world? And so I want to look at these about 10 different things. I would really love for you all to give comments and criticisms and questions so we can kind of work them into the videos. And please subscribe I think it's over there somewhere on my blog. Please subscribe to the blog or to the YouTube channel if you're finding it here. And that way you can kind of stay connected with what we're doing. Thanks a lot.